So we're up to session 115. Do people just want me to go through my summary of what happened last time, or does anybody remember any of it? Because it was 6 weeks ago.
I mean, I remember the broad strokes of it, but yeah, go through that, please.
So it was in the aftermath of the fight with the Hellfire engine. Uh, Ringer Orn had been reduced to a mist and disappeared, having floated away to try to reform his body. You were left with one of the Vecna cultists there, the one who had gone to get all of the grain for Zarius. Uh, Ringer Orn possessed that guy. I guess the first thing that happened was Clave separated himself from the mythal that undergirds this whole city. But Ringer Orn possessed the one remaining cultist and said that he could lead you away to another safe house, but that he wasn't going to be able to get you out of the city and through the barrier that protects it until he had managed to reform his own body, and that takes 24 hours. So you all took off and went to a second safe house that was much closer to the center of town. It was a sort of tall tower-like crystal structure that was guarded by various wards. It was a very different place. This just appeared to be sort of more or less the first place you were in appeared to be more or less a sort of abandoned plaza. This seemed more lived in, but it was also very dusty, as if no one had been there in a while. There didn't seem to be anyone there, but it's very richly appointed and very palatial overall. Finding bedrooms, you set up a series of watches and went to sleep. Some of you had encounters with Coursera, who wanted you to acquire him a young female elven slave. Ultimately, that didn't
Yeah.
happen, but Aurelia suggested to the remaining cultists that he take the form of a female elf and then offered him to Coursera, and Coursera accepted. So that otherwise, identifying as male changeling is now the female elven slave of Coursera.
Oh, before Aurelia did that, Clave stole his shadow to make him more amenable to influence.
Then I think it was on T-Hole's watch, a Rakshasa entered the building and came up to him and said that, in fact, the government here doesn't so much care about the Colossus and the Deadpools. They're opposed to the Vecna cult, and they don't want you interfering with their plans to get the Wand of Eternity's doorstep. But that if you just surrender yourselves, they're happy to let you stay even in this tower if that's where you wanted to stay. They just wanted to, detain you here until they could make sure that they've secured the wand. And then otherwise, as long as you're not interfering with their efforts to go after the cult, you'd be free to go. Keyhole informed everybody of that, and it was decided that they were still not to be trusted. So come morning, you all made a break for it, flying out essentially the top of the tower after it was reshaped a bit using Mirage Arcane. So in your windwalk form, you were flying away. Troops had gathered around the tower itself, including two young adult dragons that were being ridden by two particularly powerful Rakshasa who seem to have some sort of authority over a lot of the troops here. You you definitely didn't see them in pursuit. You just sort of assumed that they probably were. Like clearly something was going on with them. They were aware that something was happening, but you never actually saw them flying after you. And you proceeded to sort of dodge in between the buildings in an effort to try to make an escape. You then eventually came to a landing on one of the rooftops of one of the buildings downtown, probably about 70 stories high. And that's where we ended it. So you should all be basically fully rested except for whatever spells you cast right as you were fleeing.
Can we take a fire breath from one of these dragons? Because I have missing
Maybe
hit points.
yeah, I mean they were flying about, so that would make sense. but then you flew off at, windwalk speed, which they couldn't have kept up with.
Right.
Hmm.
So the rooftop that you happen to be, you're still in your windwalk form, but the rooftop that you happen to be hovering near at the moment, it's probably about maybe 40, 50 feet across. There's not much in the way of features to it. It's fairly reasonably well decorated. To the north end, there is a there's a large door that leads into a relatively small, like 20 by 20 little sub building on top of it. You're not really sure where it goes. It probably leads into the building, though. There might be like a stairwell beyond the door.
I think we should go into there.
But you can't actually
We can't
talk.
Oh, that's right. And
do
when
we-
we're in windwalk form, do we have? Are we like just incorporeal wisps, or do we have some kind of semblance of our kind of earthly tether?
Like you appear as though you're just clouds, though you have discovered that you're not actually fully compressible clouds. Like you couldn't squeeze through a tiny hole. But you do look to be like a fluffy cloud.
Okay.
So we can't talk, but Clave will use his telepathic link so that we can all communicate.
Isn't that just like one person at a time? Yeah, okay, gotcha.
So is the door open?
It's closed.
Okay. Can we fly through in our windwalk form, like underneath, like through a crack or something?
That's what I was saying. You've discovered that you can't really compress yourself, so if you couldn't fit through it as a person.
Okay.
We may look like clouds, but we are not in cloud or fog cloud form. With that ability to, yeah. I mean, I'll have a quick look around and make sure there's like we don't have anything following us, like that spotted us coming up here.
So you were pretty high up, like more than 70 feet off the ground. You didn't notice, even with your high passive perception, didn't notice anybody who seemed to be paying attention to you. And like looking along the path you came, you do not see anybody in pursuit.
No dragons in the air.
No, but it would probably take them a couple minutes to catch up with you.
Sure.
So
Do we know what this building is?
No.
So like because we're one of our goals, so we could teleport out. One of our goals is to leave the city, but to do that, like there's that barrier. Where did we go? Like I forgot where we needed to go to try to deactivate the barrier. Because I remember like
We need Ringer Orn to open up the shield.
right.
So
and
we need to lay low for 24 hours until his body reforms, and then meet him somewhere to carry out the task.
That's okay,
Right.
that's right.
And it's now about 12 hours before he can reform, because that was pre-long rest. You also don't you had a cultist with you who he had possessed, and so he was talking to you. You don't necessarily know like what's the limit of his ability to contact you now that you don't have that guy anymore.
Does it, from our vantage point, what we could tell, does it look like that this doorway into the top box of the skyscraper is like our best option for getting cover? Like, do we see any other potential areas, like even in the distance, that we could fly.
There are, there are four large palm trees on top of this building surrounding what you would guess is just a sort of decorative sun symbol in the middle of it. So I mean, you could hide in or under the foliage of the trees if you were just looking for cover. The only like really solid cover you see is that little outbuilding at the top.
Well, I think T-Hole would attempt to communicate with Clave once the bridge, the telepathic link has been established, and say, I think this sub building seems to be our closest option, but one of us
Yeah.
will need to reform in order to open the door.
And you would all notice that you can hear T-hole, which didn't used to be the case when you used Clave's telepathy.
Can T-Hole hear T-Hole?
I assume your inner monologue you could hear.
It's a feedback loop.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
All you hear is a high-pitched whine.
Mute yourself. Mute yourself.
Oh. That's weird. Hopefully others can't hear me either.
Our windwalk form is gonna last a few more hours.
Yeah.
Perhaps it would be better for us to just continue to fly out of sight. I mean, we're hard enough to find as it is, see at least. And if we keep moving, maybe any divination magic they might attempt to bear will be more difficult for them to utilize.
Is there any construct in this city that could protect us from such from their divination magic?
I mean, I'm protected, but I can't extend that to you guys, as far as I know. But
Yeah, Breeze
I mean,
not
if
protected as
if
well.
we had some ability to influence the mythal, perhaps, but I can't connect to it without risking drawing the attention of those watching through it.
I mean, two things that would bear on what T-hole said. T-hole and the rest of you did see one of the changeling, whatever he was, some sort of combination mage or priest. He conducted some ritual to form a hole in the gateway when you first got into the city. So he opened up, parted the shield that protected the city so that you could get through it. So you assume Ringer Oran's thing is sort of similar to that. And you also know that Aurelia didn't seem to have a problem teleporting you through that shield before. So that probably isn't a barrier to teleportation.
I have an interesting question. With my keen mind ability, might I be able to recall the ritual well enough to perhaps attempt it?
Maybe, but it would be hard because it's essentially like remembering somebody's ritual casting of a spell, and so now you have that spell. So it would be challenging, but not necessarily impossible.
So, last resort, perhaps.
Presumably, you must be in your solid form to perform this ritual.
To perform any magic, really. I don't have hands.
I think I see some
Mouth.
wisps.
Yeah. The rare all somatic component can hypnotic pattern the hell out of people.
Do you suppose there is a limit to the range of that ritual? How? Because as I sort of like angle my cloud upwards to look to see how high up the dome goes above where we are.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, Clay would respond, I assume that you need to be rather close because from my understanding, it is an intensive process and requires a great deal of concentration to affect the shield. So
yeah,
I imagine.
I would say you could also surmise just from the fact that they have people who are able to cast the ritual right next to the shield to begin with. And Ringer Orn was also suggesting that he physically accompany you to the edge of the shield so that he could perform the ritual. So it didn't
Right.
seem like he was expecting it to be done at a distance.
How high up is the dome, anyways? The above us.
The dome probably extends another. It varies depending on where you are in the city, just because it's curved, but it's
Yeah.
probably about 200 feet above you.
At its and what like at its highest point, how big is it? How tall?
I mean, at its highest point in the very center of the city, it's about goes up pretty close to a mile.
That's pretty high up.
Yeah, it's high enough to fall to your death. If something goes wrong.
Just 20d6. That's the maximum fall damage.
We can survive it.
And yeah, so long as the dragon doesn't catch you in their mouth first.
They're not that accurate. It's fine.
They don't need
It
to
would-
be accurate if they just decide to breathe their breath with it.
If we could get up there, it could be a good hiding place. Well out of sight. At least for a number of hours.
But then we risk being seen as we descend when we eventually need to.
We would risk being seen going up, but both of these are true.
I think it's best to get out of sight sooner than later. And by out of sight, I mean not in the air. I think if we try to continue to outrun the dragons, that they'll just find a way to catch up with us. Unless we hit a lucky break. But getting inside of a building is gonna be whether it's this one or something else is at least gets us out of eyesight.
You know what though? I
We
have
should
to
get
say that
inside.
there's
I hear wing beats.
do we see the dragons?
Looking around, you don't see anything.
They are coming. This I assure you.
Um,
Perhaps we quickly fly into another building.
if we can hear them, we don't have enough time to transform into our
Agreed.
physical
We
forms.
certainly not. We
So
must go.
I think actually Zarius's plan is probably pretty good to go up to the top of the field. So long as nothing interrupts our windwalk form, we'll be able to see anything that might be coming. And we can remain up there for at least a few hours while we plan.
Are there any clouds inside the dome?
No, you haven't seen clouds inside the dome.
Are they just outside the dome? Are there any clouds at all? I guess that's a fine question.
Yeah, so there are in this sort of alternate dimensions, sometimes clouds. They're not very common, but they're pretty high up.
And I guess whenever I did my control weather, that weather effect didn't extend inside the dome.
No, the dome clearly was blocking it.
Some form of magical barrier, but at least not against teleportation. We should find a tall. What is this? This isn't the tallest building we're on, right? Are there
No.
other taller? Yeah. We should find another tall building and use it as our launching point.
So
Alright,
you're
well, let's go. We don't really have time.
Correct.
We can talk while we move. We can think while we move.
So what are you looking for in terms of buildings?
Another tall one, taller than this one, maybe. Not in the direction of where I hear the wings flapping.
So the wings are sort of coming from where most of the taller buildings are. As you sort of flew past the center of town and are moving kind of away from it. So you can find a few buildings that are somewhat taller than the one you happen to be on now. But most of the really super tall buildings are right in the center of town around that central ziggurat that they have. So the ones
Okay.
that extend up like 200, 300 stories are there. Most of the ones you're going to encounter where you are between like 50 and 90
How far away from the edge of the dome?
from like the outer edge.
Yeah.
It's about a third of a mile.
How long were we here before we started hearing the wing beats?
About 3 minutes.
Okay. That Clave would guess that they can track us somehow. So Clave would say, I think that they're able to follow us somehow. We were clearly out of sight of those dragons.
And they don't necessarily know we are here, but are just flying in a direction they think we might be. They have the ability to do as we are doing now and communicate telepathically. So the dragons I assume dragons, the wing beats are coming from the center area. And then there's where we came from to get here. So like if we did like a meeting point, I want to go like opposite from where those two meet. Right? If the wing beats get to where we are, I want to go a different, like away from there from them, and also away from where we came from as far as those buildings go, like the building that we slept in.
Right. So, okay. So if you were traveling essentially from that building, though, at least as I envisioned it, you were traveling from that building and then roughly east, which took you sort of over the center of the city, moving very quickly. You
Okay.
flew past the center of the city towards the east. You're now saying you want to go like south or north?
Okay, so we flew over where they're coming from.
Well, so they were where you started from. They
Oh,
were
that's fair.
outside.
That's fair.
They were
That's
outside
right.
the building.
I
So
understand. now.
presumably they just took off after you, but you were just moving so quickly and weaving between the buildings that you lost sight of them.
You know, we should test to see if they are able to track us in some way. So let's go 90 degrees from the course that we were traveling to
Yes.
the edge of the field and circle that and see if they're able to still find us.
Let us move.
So you're flying to the edge of the barrier then?
Yeah, so from whatever path we were traveling along to get to this building, we're gonna go 90-degree angle, one of those directions, and get to the edge, somewhere close to the edge, and see if how long we hear until we hear wing beats. That's
Okay, so
that's what Clave's idea is anyways.
So you fly essentially south from the building that you're on. It is probably about half a mile, somewhat less, to get to the edge Below you, you see there is a large stretch of wall, and it intersects exactly with the outer edge of the barrier. You're just gonna, I presume, stay in the air flying over the wall.
Uh, well, is there any building that we can kind of like hide on top of
There are
that's near there?
several relatively out at this far out, there are not like high buildings. There are several like 1 and 2 story buildings. Some of which might be like warehouses. They might just be larger homes. It's hard to tell from the air what they do, but all of them have relatively plain roofs. Like it doesn't appear as though the people here are using their roofs as like recreational areas or anything else. So it's
Alright.
just a sort of normal roofs. They're very flat. There's no rain inside the dome, so there's no reason for them to have angled roofs. So they're all pretty plain, mostly unadorned.
Are there any with open windows?
If you flew around long enough, you could eventually find a building with an open window.
I don't want to fly very long. How populated is it?
I mean, the streets are pretty busy. It is, early morning, but not ungodly early. Like after start of business for most people are early. But you see plenty of changelings walking along the street, as well as fire elementals, the occasional salamander, a
Um,
very occasional fire giant.
alright, so what do we wanna do, guys? We wanna try and fly into a building, we wanna try and wait on a roof.
I think we should go into a building. Still get out of sight.
We can get under the canopy of one of the trees in the area.
On the street level?
I mean, that other building had trees on the top of it.
Yeah, you don't see so much of that this far out. The tops of the roofs of the central buildings, which appear to be somewhat wealthier or better constructed, do tend to have something on the roofs of their buildings. These are, like I said, these are pretty plain. These are the sort of working class people out here this far.
I mean, how friendly are these to air elementals? We could pass as one of those, perhaps.
Why would we assume there's any air elementals here?
We can't assume anything, except that
No, but we can
most things are
certainly
hostile.
not make we can certainly avoid making assumptions based on no information. We haven't seen anything but fire elementals and changelings.
I mean, you're looking to go inside of a building. There are going to be people inside, most likely.
Yeah, and we can immediately fly out if there are.
Well, find a building. Let's go. I'll look for a building with an open window.
It takes a minute, but you find one.
Start like seeping in.
So someone roll me percentile dice to see how populated this building is.
All right, I got you.
Higher is better, so you manage to find a building, and flying inside, you don't see anyone. You appear to be in a relatively rustic kitchen. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not much more than a wood fired fireplace with a big cast iron pot in it.
Hang out.
Is the fire going?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
Is there like a chimney?
There
Something
is.
for the smoke to leave?
Yes.
Hang out in the fucking chimney.
I don't want to hang out in the chimney that might start smoking.
It'll only start smoking whenever they go to light it.
Zarius, since you're really perceptive, perhaps you should stay out on the roof to let us know if any dragons
We'll fly up the
wings have
chimney
heard.
and just poke my little cloud head up out the
So like many chimneys, you're not sure how Santa does it because the vent at the top is not really human sized.
Oh, that's fair. I forgot we can't fucking squeeze like this. I keep assuming that I
Yeah.
can.
You can get high enough to like see the I mean, it's not even normally blue sky because the dome itself, the barrier is sort of purplish, but you see the sort of purplish sheen of the barrier up front ahead high above you.
I mean, I'll just look out the window. Do we hear anybody here? Is there anybody in
I
the
mean,
town building?
you don't hear anyone inside the house. You do hear there's plenty of people to be heard outside. I mean, it's if anything, probably going to be a little harder for you to hear the wing flapping until it's closer because it's fairly active outside.
Hmm.
You know, you can see that there are people armed and armored who are sort of running up and down the street. People seem to be somewhat abuzz about something.
Sure. I can only imagine what. I mean, okay, so I guess that's a thing. How noisy are they actually? Because I assume for the most part, except for the elementals, I suppose, all the other guys just kind of talk telepathically, right?
Right. For the most part, they do. So you don't hear much in
I
the
guess
way, I guess, of
I don't know what the
conversation.
population ratio is, so
So far as you're aware, from what you've heard, all of the changelings in this place are telepathic.
Mhm.
So you don't hear many conversations, and when you do, it's probably going to be like a fire giant or salamander talking.
right. So all the
You would also hear like the fire elementals talking, but that sounds like fire.
yeah. I don't remember where. I don't think I have any. Yeah, no overlapping language on that. My understanding is Primordial can kind of understand the elemental languages, not necessarily speak with it, but I don't have that either. So
Does anybody have primordial or ignan?
Not me.
Primordial or what?
Ignan.
No.
So yeah, you're not exactly sure what they're saying. It's mostly shouted commands.
Actually,
I mean, you have your monk.
yeah,
ability, right?
yeah, my monk ability can understand all spoken languages.
Listen to the fire. You got any words of wisdom about fire?
Does the fire language count as a spoken
Yes.
language?
It is ignorant.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got its own name and everything.
So yeah, so Keyhole, you are aware that there are intruders in the city, that it's unknown how many intruders there are in the city, or if this is a major invasion or incursion or what. That there are several traitors to the changeling race that they are trying to hunt down. And that there are enemies of Thurisdan that they are specifically trying to root out who are not changelings. And that they could be anywhere. They could be listening to this very conversation right now for all we know.
Keyhole snickers. Well, they have I can understand their speech through their key. They're on the hunt for us. They don't know our numbers and they don't know where we're at. They just know that we've betrayed the changelings, the Risden, and whatever other crimes they want to ascribe to us. So we at least have some element of surprise on our side. They don't know where we're at. They don't have any idea. They're just told to look out for us.
Well, we know that we are not the only ones that they are seeking. They are assuming this cult of Vecna is also here. And we do not we do not know how large their numbers are.
That is true.
I propose whenever we do fly from this place in our cloud form, we stay clustered together as close as possible in order to disguise our numbers.
That's a good question. You know, that makes me. I don't know why I didn't think of this. If we cluster together as a cloud form, can we pass off as a cloud?
I mean, it would be a pretty small cloud either way, but you could already probably trick people into thinking you're just like a blob of mist.
Yeah, a blob
So-
of mist where no clouds usually are. That doesn't
Right.
stick out.
We sneak our way up to one of these chimneys and just sort of go head to foot, right? Just stick close to each other until we fly all the way up. That's that's another question. What happens to the smoke in this place from these fucking fires? How does that dissipate? Is this like the whole top half is just smoke? We
It's
just
like
go up there,
smoke.
guys.
There's
Oh
like a
yeah,
s-
you haven't flown up to the top of the center of the dome. Maybe it's all smog.
I look up.
Or somebody just has to go up there and like wipe all the stains away from the smoke.
Yeah.
Item-
Do they have
item-
guys? I got a new business opportunity. We can keep ourselves safe here. We just open up the dome detailing business. Okay. We'll clean the dome.
But I mean, I would point out, you're sure, although it did block like snow from falling in and rain from falling in, it can't be that the barrier is airtight, or else they'd have to open it up just to let oxygen in periodically.
What's oxygen? We don't know what that is.
Right. But breathable air, that's true. But what if everybody just died because they didn't realize you have to let air in? And they,
Yeah,
they
and the air is
trapped
constantly
themselves.
being burned by the fucking fires. The fucking fire elementals are eating up all the oxygen.
That's true.
Those fire elementals should have went out ages ago.
Alright, so after we're here for like 10, 20 minutes, does Zarius notice any wing beats or anything?
So 10 minutes passes and Zarius doesn't notice any wing beats. A couple of minutes later, though, you do hear wing beats. And because it's sort of over the din of people running about outside, they're somewhat closer than they were when last time you heard them.
I hear them again.
Can you see where they're coming from? Are they coming directly at us? Or do they seem like they're just patrolling?
Are they coming directly from the direction that we flew from last?
S- So make me a perception check just to see how much information you can glean.
I still don't actually have proficiency in this. Okay, I'm gonna have to restart my fucking browser or something. It's brutal.
So you're sure it's not coming from the direction that you came from? And it's a little hard to like pinpoint like an exact direction that you could point to, but you gather they're coming from two different directions. And they both seem like they're getting louder, so they're probably just vectoring in towards you at this point.
So they're converging on us,
Yes.
so they can track us. That would be Clave's assumption.
But
Can't
at
hear
the
you.
same time, you don't think it would have taken them. I mean, at the speed you would imagine a dragon would fly at, shouldn't have taken them quite this long to get here.
That's true, but still, we changed direction purposely, and as far as we can tell, we were out of sight of the dragons when we had moved differently. Uh, so, and it's still a fairly large city.
Right.
So if they are converging on our point, then it stands to reason that they would be tracking us. Whether that's right or wrong, that's what Clave is gonna assume.
I'm just saying there's something complicated about the way they're doing it, but they're definitely, there's no way they randomly selected this one point to converge on.
Yeah,
Or you're just the most unlucky people in the world. That's the other possibility.
alright, so it doesn't matter where we find a place to hide. They're going to be able to find us. So we really need to keep moving in our cloud form as long as we can.
The ultimate test would be to be able to fly straight up to the top of the dome. If
Well,
they
let's
follow
do
us
that.
up there,
Let's do that when we're out of sight of the dragons.
correct.
So we should go.
Back towards where we started.
No. Now, so we were heading south.
No, where we started the
Yeah.
day.
Right. So, yeah, but you were heading south. You are now basically, if you imagine the dome as a circle, you are in the southeast portion of the dome, right up against the wall.
So I say we head. So we're south,
Yeah, southeast.
that's southwest, southeast. So I say we go northeast, curve around, and weave through some buildings as we do it, where we can.
So if you stick close to the edge of the dome, there's probably not going to be that many tall buildings.
Right, so I'm not saying we follow the dome, but we kind of find the buildings along that path that's like kind of a little bit more northwestish.
Okay.
Stuck near the barrier to the city. Not the magical one, but the physical one.
So yeah, there is a physical wall around the city and the barrier seems like it is projected directly out of it. So they're roughly the same, the physical wall and the barrier at about the same distance.
Hmm.
There are little places where the barrier, like at the two gateways, you saw the barrier extended out further than the city wall itself. But that seems to be specific to, I don't know what's going on with Zoom. Just threw up a bunch of stuff.
I did that. I
I
didn't
see.
think it would share on everybody's screen.
You're gonna make a circle for us? We can track our locations.
No, but actually this might be helpful because if for me, I'm having some difficulty picturing it. So if we could set something up here, that might be, I don't know how to draw on this though.
Neither do I. Trying to figure out where there's like a pen tool.
I don't know, mine was telling me I have to like sign in order to do something, so.
I didn't actually read the pop-ups before I closed them, so maybe the answer was
I-
there.
I unfortunately did not. I just got a glimpse of it and I closed it. I'm like, oh, probably should have actually read that.
It just said to log in if you didn't want to lose the whiteboard after the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Didn't say anything about
You would think there's a way to draw on the whiteboard.
Yeah,
We are viewing Clave's whiteboard. So presumably he would have to do it.
I can't do anything.
well, it was worth an effort. Hmm.
It says I'm collaborating on the whiteboard. But I think that just means that you can see where my cursor moves.
Yes. You know, we could just use the shape tool and roll 20, the other thing we have open.
Yeah, that might be easier than this.
Yeah, this thing just, it's so dumb. Oh, wait a minute, is this, no, that's not it. This is,
For a brief moment, I saw like a pop-up on the left-hand side that looked like it would have had a pen on it, but then it disappeared. So I don't know what that's about.
alright. So I'm drawing in the, on the map in roll 20. But I figure if we're, you said we're in the southeast, so somewhere right here.
I think I'm in a different map than you are at the moment. Yes, that's about where you were.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Also,
thinking-
also, it was slightly confusing because when you were like drawing a circle in the air in Zoom, I realized your camera's probably mirrored because I saw you as in the opposite side.
Oh,
And you probably saw the same when I was trying to do it.
yeah,
But so roll
It's-
roll 20 does make it eeasier.
It's
Yeah,
funny
so-
that you drew a circle when there's a perfectly good one right here in the center of the whole fucking map.
yeah, well, you know, that's how I roll. But I'm thinking we kind of zigzag a little bit to get to this point. Kind of, so not quite following this, but kind of zigging through the buildings to get to here.
Hmm. I mean, that makes sense.
And then from here, once we are out of sight of the dragons, then we fly up towards the middle center, like right at the top of the dome. Because that's, we're still thinking that, right? Like go up to the top.
Yeah.
Right. But from the edge, I believe. That way, anyone trying to observe from the center would have a harder time seeing us just by looking. We would
Right.
appear as specks.
By the way,
Can you?
how much time has passed and how much time do we still have in our wind form?
You probably still have another 7 hours in your wind form.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Can you make these clouds purple with your magic to match the dome?
I didn't realize the dome's energy was purple.
That's what Kurt said.
Yep.
Oh. No. I mean, if I could cast my spells, yes. But I can't cast spells in this form.
Well, if we're lucky, we will have another 10 to 12 minutes where you could.
The dragon flapping now is audible to everyone.
Go.
Yeah.
So they're finding us faster now.
They're just closer.
So yeah, let's like go out the window since we can't fit through the chimney and pretend to be wisps of smoke. go out the window that we came into and take the long way around.
Next time you go into a building, just set the building on fire and then you'll have cover when you leave.
It's not a terrible idea. It would force them to react to that, right? And we got
Maybe we
action
just-
points.
Maybe we just be arsonists and set every building we can on fire, and
He's a
then-
bunch of evil bastards, anyways.
and we just blame all the fire elementals, and we start some shit between them and the chain.
You see that elemental? He just lit that place on fire.
He just can't control himself.
It's like, you guys ever see The Good Place?
Yep.
I've seen bits of it.
That's like the one monk that was supposed to be following Jianchu or Jiang, whatever the guy's name is.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I love fire. I burned people. So
So flying in a zigzag pattern.
yeah.
So flying out the window, you can hear the flapping. It doesn't sound like they're right on top of you, but it does sound like they should be within, 100 yards. You still don't see any dragons, though. You do see a couple more than a few confused changelings who are looking around for the source of the flapping and also not seeing it. But flying off, you're still much faster. Wherever the dragons are, you're much faster than them. So the sound of their flapping recedes pretty quickly. You proceed to zigzag around the building. It takes you, because of just the enormous speeds you move at, it won't take you that long to get to the opposite side of the dome, zigzagging through the buildings. So you'll probably be there in 10 minutes, even if you do a lot of zigzagging.
Okay.
So, question. I mean, I know that they were a long ways off still, so probably not within 60 feet. But with my new ability, if they come within 60 feet, I should be able to sense them.
Yes,
But of course-
potentially.
But of course, if they're within 60 feet, then they're probably about to use their breath weapon, so that's not helpful.
Yeah. Useful in smaller quarters.
I mean, if the dragons are flying, they would get from like 60 feet into where you are pretty fast. So it would be a little hard. It could be hard to react. If they, happen to stop 60 feet out, you would detect them.
So which of you bastards are they following? Who are they scrying on?
No fucking way it's me. Kepler can't be anymore. Like most of us, we all have the saves, so I don't know. Like Kepri was the weak link. So I don't know.
I mean, I thought I disconnected from the mythal. Could it be that they're still following me somehow?
I mean, you are telepathically linked with us. Can they sense that energy? I don't know how your psionics work.
I barely know myself.
At least you admit it.
Well, I'm trying to learn, but we keep getting interrupted by dragons and rakshasas and things that want to stab us in our eyes with blades of salt.
Trust me, the annoyance is not lost to me either. We're still weaving, right? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you looking for when you get there? Like, where are you going to stop? Another building or?
similar situation, maybe.
So.
Are we
so
gonna fly to
once-
the dome top?
Yeah, once we're pretty sure we're out of sight of the dragons, we would want to make our way up to the top of the dome.
Okay. Yeah, you make your way, weave your way around through the buildings. You're sure the dragons couldn't, so I guess there's a question. You're sure the dragons could not have covered the same distance as fast as you did. Are you waiting to see if they're following you to the new location, or are you just, when you get there, you're just gonna beeline backwards and up to the top of the dome?
I say we beeline it. What do you guys say? Do we need another data point to know if they're following us?
I think it's pretty clear at this point.
So they're definitely gonna follow us up to the top.
If that's the case, yes. This is the last data point essentially, is going to the top. But it will give us a whole mile to outrun them. Unless you wanted to make us look to match the barrier. Right
I
quick.
Can't.
up to you. I mean,
It will
you would
take-
have to drop, I know. So a couple of minutes, I mean, is your spell of ritual? Or is it a long cast? I don't remember what the casting time on any of those spells are, so.
It's, I can cast it fairly quickly, but I am not confident in how quick I can get in to my normal form and get out of it.
We got action
the-
points.
Plus even so, no,
Otherwise, I mean, we could transform with you. That way you have some line of defense. Let's just go up.
wait a minute. Oh. Never mind.
You got it.
Yeah, let's just go up and see what happens, I guess. Hopefully we don't die.
They fly up to the top of the dome. It does seem a little dingier. Maybe this is where the smoke ultimately collects.
You decided that just now.
Yes, I did.
The barrier is not permeable.
I'm vaguely remembering that like the dome was the dome so big that sometimes it would rain inside? Like was there weather inside the dome?
Not that you've seen.
Okay.
You did see, so like one of the issues is just outside the dome, even now, there are huge snow drifts that have accumulated on the edges. So even if they open up the dome, there might be some digging to get through the snow that has accumulated there from the controlling weather blizzard
still
in the
there?
desert. As near as you can tell, yeah, because it was a full on like
It was a
hurricane
blizzard.
level blizzard. It's only been a day. It's melting fast, but there's still snow there.
Yeah.
Which means it's gonna like all at once. It's gonna start shitting. Cause an avalanche off the side. That would be amazing. You know, hey, can you start heating this up?
So the dome is
Not-
above you.
I know
It
what you
is
mean.
essentially sort of featureless. Just a wall of purple energy above you with some snow accumulated on top above that.
You know what? I mean, oh no, that's not a good idea. Never mind. How easily can we see each other?
I mean, you can see each other pretty easily. You're not at all invisible. You're 100% visible to anybody who's looking in your direction.
Okay. So in that case, even though we would lose contact, I would suggest to everybody, let's split up. Let's keep within eyesight of each other, but let's form some kind of, let's form a
An
square.
array. Yeah.
And then that way we can see, we can find whoever starts hearing wing beats first, beelines it to the others. And then we know who they're following.
And they move to the one in the opposite direction as the sound of the dragons coming.
Yes, and once we see one of us move, then we all converge. And then we can begin planning. Get close enough to use my telepathic communication.
That seems logical.
Well,
Let's do it.
So how far apart are you trying to get?
how far apart can we be and remain in each other's eye line? Where we can see each other fairly easily still.
I mean, you could probably be, so I mean, I guess there's a question of degree there because you could probably, highlight it against the purple dome, see these white wispy clouds, maybe as far off as like half a mile. Maybe
we should be
further.
most of the way up.
I think probably not so far as that, but I would say like a quarter mile probably, because by that point we would be able to tell where the dragon wings are, which way they're going.
So here's a question. Could we tell when we hit the smog layer?
I mean, yeah, you can sort of tell where the air gets more stale a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
How high up then? Where were we when they
Oh,
were
it is well above the level of the tops of any of the buildings. Like I said, some of the buildings might go up 300 feet, but you're now a mile up. So they are quite a distance below you.
Yeah. So let's go just below this smog layer. Should be roughly
yeah,
the
that
same
is-
height at all locations.
Right. And that is pretty far above the buildings as well.
And we don't have to follow the wall barrier necessarily.
Why would we go
Yeah.
above the smog or below the smog layer? Or above it?
Just this a separation point. We need to have a good distance between us, right?
Right.
But like we still want to be high enough that we can see what's going on.
Right.
There's
So-
no way for us like this high up is the main thing. Like, yeah, as long as it's like above that like half a mile point, essentially.
Well, I mean, the smog layer, does that give us cover from below the smog layer?
It's not really a smog layer. It's, there's a little bit of staining on the dome,
Okay.
like old wallpaper in a smoker's house.
Yeah.
But I will save you some time to say you distance yourself out about, a quarter mile apart from each other, and about half an hour passes and you still have not heard wing beats.
Oh, we figured this out before we separated, but like when we know, we should be able to sort of innately tell when our forms are gonna start coming back to recoalescing, right? We need to.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Clave did
mean,
mention that. Once
I did-
once we see somebody moving, we kind of converge to get close enough to communicate once again and plan our next step.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can do that with enough time. Like,
I mean,
I mean, you still have 6 hours left on your
yeah,
one
I
walk.
know, I know.
Not gonna.
That's what whole 6 whole hours where we can't communicate with each other. So
I mean, Clave is fine waiting up to an hour even because this is
that's fair.
who knows what they might be doing or, you know, I mean, they're having to fly a mile up even for dragons that I don't know that that would take half an hour, but no, it wouldn't. It would not, definitely would not take half an hour.
Sure. Yeah. An hour in, we fly back up, right? Back up and converge at the top. It seems to be safe up here.
Well, we can't really talk at this point. to
Yeah, I know.
communicate that.
I know we could have though. We might have. Just because we weren't smart enough. Your character has a high intelligence.
Yeah, I got a 20.
Yeah. We weren't thinking smart enough to think of it right off the bat. But
So,
your character
yes.
probably was.
From our vantage point, do we see anything going on in the city below?
I mean, from this high up, it is hard to make out details of anything. The city looks almost completely still. If you really focus, you can make out like large individual things that happen to be moving around. So like you might be able to pick out a troop of giants that are marching down the street, but even they look smaller than ants at this point.
Cool. Could I pull out my cloud telescope?
Your
Pretty
kaleidoscope.
sure, yeah. You can try to pull it out, and it's a cloud, so it doesn't actually make anything look bigger. But you can.
You just like take a bit of your cloud form and just extend it.
And actually, I thought Zarius had the magic scrying telescope.
Does it scry? Hold on, what?
No, it doesn't
were- you
scry,
were
but we were
using it-
using it for you to scry because
Right.
it's technically
right.
something that you could scry with.
That cost
Yeah.
1,000 gold pieces.
Yeah,
I need
but
something with that.
I only loaned it to him for the casting. I definitely took that back.
Yeah, I don't have it in my inventory.
Clave needs to feel useful. So he doesn't want to give up things that he can that might be needed.
I just picture they're like, Clave, give us your telescope, and Clave hands it over and feels super proud that he's useful. It's like very, very eager running over to give it to you.
More like I feel like people won't immediately leave me if they know that they need something from me.
Oh, well, that's a whole different thing. Then it's like you hand it over and they run off. Aurelia cast teleport.
You've already done it once.
I think I got a high enough passive insight. I know this. I've definitely picked up.
So Clave's willing to wait an hour. Is everybody else waiting an hour?
I got enough.
I mean, yeah, is presumably we'd be able to see the dragons coming.
I mean, you haven't been able to see them so far.
But we have been able to hear them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Teal would be under the impression that the longer that if they're not hearing from them, then that's a good thing. You know, because we're trying to we're trying to stall for time. So the longer we can stall,
No news is good news.
Yeah, it works out in our favor.
So, okay, so after an hour, you still haven't heard anything.
Keeping an eye out, nothing flying at us. Can I spot any of these dragons as they fly around?
You don't see any dragons. Scratch that, actually. You do occasionally see dragons, one of which is much bigger than the dragons that these two guys were flying. It's probably an adult dragon. It is flying almost directly below you. It's not flying up, it just, you periodically see it emerge from the ziggurat below you. And fly to various buildings around the center of the city.
Okay. Just below me?
I mean, below the very
Just-
center of the dome.
Yeah, okay.
That's where the
Okay, good.
ziggurat is.
Yeah, yeah.
And it seems to be in the ziggurat. But you don't see any of the dragons you think are in pursuit, though. They were only size large, like they'd have to be closer in order for you to make out something that's like one large size creature.
Sure. I mean, after about an hour, I might start heading back up.
Well,
Just to-
that would
just to
signal
reconvene.
Clave to follow and converge. So
Just have a quick powwow, you know. Everybody doing good? Yeah.
So is T-Hole also going to converge and Aurelia?
Yeah, Teal will converge after an hour.
Yeah.
I was hoping Aurelia would be like, what? I took the deal. I just went and surrendered. It's like 2 hours ago.
It sounded good at the time. I don't know what we're doing.
I just took the deal and figured I could just teleport out of there if things went sideways. So you all converge back near the center of the dome.
okay, did somebody hear dragon wings? Are they coming?
I heard nothing.
No. They are just moving about down in the city.
Okay. So
So-
maybe they're not tracking us? Or maybe there's
They're
a
likely
limit?
just scouring. Whenever we were hearing them, it was just them searching.
Okay. Well,
I wonder if they've somehow able to smell us. And because we've wrapped ourselves in the smog, we have foiled their sense of foiled our sense.
we smell like the city now.
Rub the dirt on our clothes. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this smog transfers from the cloud to our physical forms, but they were tracking clouds to begin with, so or potentially tracking. I'm not entirely sure that's true.
Well, I'm certainly glad that they're not following us, but so I guess maybe we use this opportunity to head back down and find somewhere that we can begin thinking about hiding.
Here's another thought. Perhaps we should stay together for an amount of time to make sure it is not the clump of us that they can detect.
Okay.
I don't know how extensive their mind network is, but if they could pick out dead spots where we are not linked, who knows?
That's a fair point.
So you think that they may be using the telepathic link that I'm creating to track?
N-
It's
not
not
as-
Maybe
Not
it might
implausible.
not necessarily be that, but more like our brains are not within their network.
like looking at
We are not attached. They just sense a foreign mind that is not linked to theirs.
Well, if they were doing that, they were likely using the Mythal to monitor that. Based on what I know of the power of the Mythal, we're not far enough away for it to be, for us to be outside of its reach. But perhaps
The grouping of us might detect
May-
easier.
maybe they weren't expecting us to fly up to this spot.
Indeed.
Or maybe they know exactly where we are and they're just using this time for themselves to plan how to deal with us.
Indeed. Is equally likely. They know, if they know we're here, then they know we cannot get out. Otherwise, we would have.
And they seem like they mostly just cared about us not getting out, not interfering with their plans.
Yes. We could return to that building.
Which building?
The one that we were originally in.
The one
Right.
we slept
Ringer Orange safe house?
in.
Why would we go back
Clearly
there?
no safe house, but it is a location. Familiar
Yeah,
location.
it's also a location where there were like 200 Azers and several Rakshasas hanging around. And also the location where they just walked up to us, apparently in the middle of the night, without being detected. I'm not very keen on returning to a place that they so easily found us.
The last thing they'll expect.
It's
The
So
insanity.
crazy, it just might work.
at this point, I believe it might be yet safer to risk the teleportation out of here.
Have you seen my head lately?
It's not as combobulated as it usually is.
That's because it's a cloud.
And my knee is worse than ever.
Really? I can't see it.
I think that would
Spells are
be
used. I think I used one on you, didn't I? Used one on my leg, and I think I used one on you.
One of your spells.
Yeah, the restoration spell.
all right. So
Maybe.
hold
I don't
on.
know. It
You
pulls back
because
the time
when
on it a
you-
little bit.
when you guys had separated from me the last time you teleported, you had mentioned that there's some sense of urgency that we need to get to where we need to go.
Yes.
The Dohat Pajar.
It has apparently everything that we need.
Could we teleport there?
I do not
It's-
believe so.
It is on this
That
plan.
is what failed the last time. It brought us into a strange time loop.
Right. So you're recommending a course of action that has already failed once.
No, we could still teleport out of here.
I mean, could we still, I mean, we're right when we're here, we're still in the same plane as Dohat Pajar. Or Bajar.
This is
True.
what Aurelia tried last time.
So Dohat Pajar is in the same plane as the colony.
Yes.
So where would we be teleporting just outside the barrier, or would we be trying to teleport to Dohat Pajar again?
I believe whichever is safer which I believe is a place outside of the city that we are familiar with.
Well,
Perhaps that plateau that we first arrived in.
well, Aurelia, it's your spell work. What are your thoughts? What do you know of your capacities to cast the spell? Do you even think it's a good idea? It's your magic.
What, teleport out of here? Yeah, it was a good idea like 2 hours ago. Still a good idea.
It's not our fault you didn't recommend the course of action earlier. I'm still
Minds were made up.
I'm still resistant given everything that this disease has. But if we're able to get to Doha Bashar, I suppose it's a moot point, so long as we're still able to walk.
Precisely.
All right. So I suppose then let's get on with it then. If time is of the essence, we might as well take the risk. I really hope nothing else happens to my head.
Has Clave? I don't remember. Has Clave? Has he been like keeping it? Has he been keeping the droopiness like hidden the whole time through his illusions, or has he like let it slip?
Just
Oh,
the
I-
changeling, the
it
changeling
definitely-
form, yeah.
Yeah, I can reassert the form, but it eventually slopes. I just have to really concentrate on maintaining it.
And when you first ran into him again in his little underground bunker, he had completely let it drop at that point.
Yeah.
He was super damaged and semi out of it.
Gotcha. T-Hole might
Yeah.
have just thought he looked angry. Because
It's like the episode of
Yeah.
Seinfeld where they drew on Uncle Leo's eyebrows.
Sir, you don't need to be so angry. What? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can give you proficiency in that somehow, but I can either, if you like, enhance ability or just bless. Bless might be the better option because it gets multiple people.
For what?
For making the save.
Oh.
It's worth the spell slot. So yeah. Assume this is our plan. Let us pick a place.
I mean, Aurelia could also inspire each of us before teleporting.
That sounds like
Good.
her.
Could she? I don't think that says it anywhere on her character sheet.
So where do you want to fly to? Assuming the plan is to try to teleport out of here.
Can we fly down like just far enough to get a better picture of the city and see where the dragons are?
Sure. I mean, so you fly down a bit, you do begin to see that there are a couple of red dragons that are just sort of perched around various spots on the ziggurat. There's also that large dragon, the larger dragon, huge sized dragon that you occasionally see poke a head out of the ziggurat. You're not sure what it's doing if it's just surveying the city around it or what when you see it do that. You don't see any other dragons elsewhere in the city. They do seem to be sort of centrally located at this point. And you can see downtown especially, the city is extremely abuzz.
Alright. I mean, is there any area or building that looks particularly defensible?
It's hard to say because you don't see like, so the buildings downtown are pretty much all like multi-story, like dozens of stories tall. There's no short squat buildings there. All of them seem like maybe they have roof access through a little side building on top. You don't see any like stairwells. A couple of them would have just like a hatch on top. But most of them seem to have like some sort of squarish building at some spot on the rooftop. So, I mean, in that regard, none of them necessarily seem more defensible than any of the others.
What about more well hidden? Like, or has like because we need at least a minute to change back safely and then for Aurelia to cast teleport. So that's really what Clay would be looking for, is areas that would allow for enough cover so that we can get at least a minute or two before anything can assault us.
So everybody make me, I guess, when Darius gets back, a perception check just to see who finds the best, most heavily covered building.
Hey, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
It ain't Clave.
Well, Clay might think he's got the best spot.
So Aurelia, you looking around, you're the only one who notices that one of the buildings that appears to be, the top of it appears to be covered in foliage. In fact, part of it is underneath a sort of foliage covered dome. And so underneath this dome with the foliage all around it, it is probably not completely impossible, but probably would be very hard for anything that was flying by at not precisely the right angle to notice that you were under the dome. Now, whether there are people under the dome too, you don't know, but there's a lot of cover there.
Okay.
And Clave points to a flat, featureless rooftop and says, I like that spot. So, but flying under the dome, you see that there doesn't seem to be anyone up there at this point. There, the foliage is actually dense enough that maybe you could be wrong about that. But taking several passes around, you don't think there's anyone on the roof.
Seems like
Okay.
seems like a good spot.
Yep.
I don't know. I kind of like my spot.
T-Hole promptly ignores Clave.
So you transform back. Nothing seems to have happened so far.
All right. And when we teleport, we're gonna have to make that save, right? Is everybody
Right.
infected? Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
where are you teleporting to?
Yeah, where am I teleporting to?
There's that plateau that you started out on where Clay built a mansion and you killed a bunch of changelings. There.
Hey, that mansion still should be good. It's still there.
There's Doat Pajar. You don't really know, like, you were walking through the desert briefly on your way in. So you know a couple of spots that are just outside the city wall, but are probably visible from the gates. So it's probably, if you want to not have people know where you are, probably that plateau or Doat Pajar. The plateau, though, you've been to at least. Doat Pajar, you only really have heard about.
So I have a description of it.
Right. A sort of vague fairy tale like description of it.
I think Zarius also mentioned he was going to cast Bless.
Right,
beforehand.
but that doesn't help with the teleport. It just helps with the save after the teleport.
Yeah,
I think we should I think we should try our luck again to get to Doha Bajar. That is that is the place we need to get. And if we went to the plateau, it would just be trying to find a way to either teleport there or hitch a ride or find some sort of other means of transportation to get there.
Aurelia, what do you think? Like, can you get us to Doha Bazaar?
No, I would just say the plateau, I would go ahead and say you could count that as very familiar. You spent several days there in the mansion that is still there. Doat Bajar, you have a description. So there is a distinct difference between the
Yeah.
2 percentile rolls between those two.
Yeah.
And a misfire on the plateau doesn't hurt us so bad. we and if we shoot off, it like scales on how the distance, right? So we know that Doha Bajar is like leagues from here. So on a fail, we could get fucked. We wouldn't know where we were.
But counter YOLO.
Yeah, we YOLO'd into the
Yeah.
fucking past last time, dude.
Yeah, the counter is YOLO.
Now, that's not necessarily true. I can resurrect people. Only I YOLO. I don't even think that. No, that's not true either. Aurelia's got the horn. I might come back might not be back as a Dragonborn.
So if we went to the plateau, then wasn't it surrounded by lava?
It was in your universe. In this universe, it's not.
That's right. Okay.
Wait a minute. So then the mansion is also in the other universe, right? Or did I create it after?
No, you're right. The mansion is in the other universe.
Yeah.
So the plan would, if we teleport to the plateau, then the plan would be to assume our windwalk forms and start traveling in the direction.
Right.
Do you need me to make one of these perception rolls?
No, you found a safe enough spot. You are underneath it on a sort of heavily, there's a lot of foliage in a large garden, and you are underneath a dome in the midst of this garden. So it is very difficult for somebody to see you if they happen to be flying by. If they happen to, come into the garden from downstairs, then they might see you.
Yeah. So once we get down there, we'd start transforming, right?
Right. So yeah,
Right.
I forgot about the mansion. Since you don't have the mansion anymore, it's probably more seen casually. The next level down from very familiar
Okay.
for the plateau.
All
And
right.
you only have a description for Doat Bajar.
Maybe it would be better to go to the plateau if it's going to be easier. And we just windwalk. We could windwalk, or at least have a mode of travel to however far Dohat Bajar is.
Do we know how to get there otherwise?
We have a pretty good idea, I believe. It's not far off of the river. Or there was a path we could take from the river, essentially.
It's on the
roughly
main
find it.
world, on the main world map. So it's still in the analogous position in this world. So you do You know, if you can find your bearings on the map and keep your bearings, you do know where to go.
All right, the plateau then.
That's the safest bet. Before teleportation, I will cast bless. I can only get 3 people with it, I think. Unless I can use, because it's off of the beads.
Uh,
There's 2 of those beads on there. If I use 2 of them, can I upcast it?
So that's not the way it's supposed to work. You could use an action point to do that, though.
With the action points are so precious.
Well, who want?
They
I
save
can.
my ass.
I can drop inspiration. Whoever wants inspiration.
I'm gonna give, yeah, I'm just gonna give it the bless to them, and just trust myself.
I would like the
And
inspiration.
What about Kepri?
Oh, you know what? Not on T-hole on Capri.
yeah, that's fair. I mean, I have
T-hole's got the better rolls on everybody, so
yeah, I'm proficient in all saves. So
he's fine.
All right, I'll give Clave inspiration. I'll take inspiration. Inspire myself.
You know, let's make sure Capri doesn't have any cool things she can do to help here. Could Kepri suggest that Aurelia teleports us to the right location?
She absolutely could do that.
I just wanted to be like a weird loophole, like that'll be correct every time. We could just go straight to Doha Pajar.
Don't be trying to Baldur's Gate this.
It's just this is more like a devil's loophole. Like,
All right, so I gave inspiration to myself. Give it to Clave. Anybody else?
I don't have any buffs.
All right, Zarius.
Delightful. It's a D10 now, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean, Kepri can also cast Bless if she casts Battle Mind first.
She's already used it? Oh, I guess maybe not this round, this day, huh? How long does that last? 10 minutes? Yeah, I mean, that would only be so effective because she can't upcast it either. So it would only get one person. I don't know if it's worth it yet.
I mean, Bless is 3 allies, so she could get herself and 2 other people with Bless. You could get people with Bless without spending an action point. I think we lost your audio. Or I lost my audio, one or the other. Can
I can hear
I've-
you. I can't
Yeah,
hear
I can
Tony.
hear you. Yeah.
just can't hear Tony.
yeah.
Headphones smart died.
This is interesting. When I look up teleport in the compendium, it mentions a Rift Hopper subclass I was not familiar with.
I'm not seeing that reference.
I typed in teleport in the compendium and it came up. And I don't know why it came up.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so it may have come up because I have access to Tome of Heroes.
Okay.
I am also unfamiliar with Rift Hopper. I haven't looked at all of the options in Tome of Heroes, just some of them.
Hmm. Is that a new?
It's a supplement that I backed on Kickstarter at some point, and my benefits included the version on Roll20.
Ah, okay.
So like the Battle Mind spell that Kepri has access to is actually from that. And one of the things it allows her to do is cast Bless once a day.
Oh, okay.
So let's take a 5-minute break while we wait for Tony to come back.
All right.
'Cause I'm hoping for a mishap, fingers crossed, and I would rather he be here if there's a mishap.
All right.
So we just decided to take a quick break while we were waiting for you to get back in. So be
Okay.
back in a minute.
Sure.
Is it working now?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened. Sound decided to just go away. It was all my sound. It's a weird thing that happens with this fucking headset though. So I don't complain about it. It's actually like a fairly comfortable headset because it's not fucking heavy.
Yeah.
A lot of the gaming headphones are like so fucking huge and bulky. And it's
Yeah,
just
they
eventually
weigh you
it's
down.
just yeah, it's brutal. These are super light, so
But I also like my brother, he went through, I don't even know how many gaming headphones he went through, but like none of them lasted long. They were all like fairly poor quality, all in all said and done, at least of the batch that he got.
yeah. Keep picking up my phone to do something. I'm getting distracted. Let's see.
I like some of the details of teleport. Like last time, it's because you didn't actually get a mishap. You got similar area, and
Right.
it took you to the closest similar area. But even this thing says that could be anywhere on the plane. It's usually the closest similar area, but you're in a plane that's pretty featureless. So you went with the closest similar lost city. So is that your new image of T-hole, Dustin?
Yeah. This is this is
Is this AI art?
AI art. I can't draw for shit, man.
Seems like kind of the style of the hell's that guy's name? The Japanese guy who does all the Metal Gear Solid arts.
Oh yeah, I guess it kind of does. Like all the AI art like has this kind of like
This aura effect.
this aura, yeah. It's all in there. Like that's how you would tell if you knew nothing else. At least for fantasy characters.
Draw me art of a new Dragon Ball Z character. What's that aura look like?
It's a good question. What does it?
So Aurelia, I need you to roll me percentile dice. Well, I guess before we do that, we're figuring out if Kepri can cast Bless or not.
I mean, I guess, let's see here. Let's double check this spell. What exactly does it do? Yeah, I mean, I guess I could. It might be worth it. It'll go for 10 minutes. So yeah, I can use the battle mind, and then everybody should be blessed with the beads and her bless.
Blessed beads.
And then some of us have some inspiration. Now that I have bless, if you want to take your inspiration back, you can.
Yeah, with my +0, I think I'll keep the inspiration.
Technically, that is not how inspiration works. Where you just take it back.
What? You can't. You don't have to take. No, you still have it.
All right.
All right, percentage.
Yep.
Let's see how many action points I have to use.
That feels like an action pointable number.
Yeah, this is what, seen casually?
I'm offering no advice.
Okay. Yeah, I'll use
See,
action
higher,
point.
higher is better for you. Lower is more fun for me.
Yeah, I'll use action point, roll again. Could be worse. That's better. I'm gonna go with that number.
Okay. You appear on the plateau exactly where you expected to be. You can see the purple dome of the Great Colony in the distance, about 5 miles out.
Kurt sounds so disappointed.
Had a whole side quest last time.
See, if I'd done Doha Pajar, we would have got there.
Alright, so
Maybe
Not that
tomorrow.
I'm bitter about that or anything, but
Maybe tomorrow.
There's still time.
oh, there's still time, yeah. To completely F
everybody-
everything up, yeah.
So now everybody make me con saves, including Kepri.
alright.
That's a good one.
Okay, so I'm gonna roll my inspiration.
Oh shit. Kepri crit.
Yep.
A double crit.
Yeah.
Alright.
That means
Yep.
that means she cured herself of a
God damn it.
disease in
All
Mike's
right.
game.
Do we have bless?
Yes.
Does it
I am
apply to
going
this?
to
Yeah.
use an action
It would,
point.
yeah. An extra D4 on it.
I am using another action point.
It's gonna wait.
God damn it. Fucking 12.
Um,
Did Cyrus roll? I don't
yeah,
see
no, I
Cyrus's.
haven't yet. Here we are. Oof. And then we'll add D10 and a D4 on.
Oh, using that inspiration. Oh, I see. Okay.
18's pretty good. I appreciate it.
Find my table. Glaive, roll me percentile dice.
Don't roll the head again. You got the head again. I don't know.
Your head
You know-
doesn't droop, but your face droops into just like a constant frown.
You know, this is what I get for imposing so much body horror on everybody else.
Hold on, I'm having trouble finding the table. And so as you appear at the destination, things begin to settle in. You see that there is just almost like a miniature storm cloud that forms around the torso of Clave. Clave, you are in beyond extreme pain, but you watch as you see his arms are sort of outstretched as he's in agony, and his arms spin around 180 degrees. So they're now pointed behind him, and the cloud dissipates, and his torso has twisted around 180 degrees. Visibly, there's a twist in his neck and in his stomach, but he is somehow still alive.
So like his entire
He is-
torso is just like this
Yes.
way now.
Yes.
How does he?
Is it
He's obviously in pain.
around his
So-
spine. His
so-
spine essentially above the stomach has twisted 180 degrees. And then possibly his head just twisted another 180 in time to it's still pointing forward.
Okay,
But his
so
arms-
it's not like Spaceballs where I'm looking at my own ass.
Right. You're not
But you
looking
can
at your
scratch
own
it.
ass. Right, but you can scratch it much more easily now because your arms point that way.
Oh,
All right, hold on.
like T will rush to you and be like, Clave.
And make me another con save.
Rolls have not been in your favor with these con saves.
I
You take
never
an
rolled well on
additional-
my con save.
You're still blessed. I
Yeah,
don't
you
know
take an
you did that.
additional
It's
yeah,
on
it's
there.
got a on
Okay.
there. Gotta take an additional 50 bludgeoning damage.
So I'm at 3 hit points.
So I will step up to Clave, touch him on his shoulder, and cast heal. It's
Clave still drops to his knees, just in so much pain and just so confused.
so they're also supposed to end an effect of blindness, deafness, and disease. Perhaps it can reverse this effect.
It does not reverse this effect.
Uh,
Clave is gonna try to use his shape change ability to fix his body.
I would say you could do that.
Okay. I'm going to I'm gonna shift into my Axios form. Uh,
I
it still
would say,
hurts.
yeah, I would say there is more discomfort than you're used to as your body twists back around to realign your spine for the Axios form?
Oh, please tell me Bajar is not far from here. Ugh.
It is a number of miles. And not a small one.
Maybe Windwalk form, it won't be so bad. And so he begins trying to transform into his cloud form.
This is the least happy you've ever seen Axios.
I didn't think torsos could do that.
I don't believe he should be alive. This is my medical opinion. Most individuals will have died from this, whatever this was.
I mean, 50 points of damage. Yep, that would kill most people.
Nearly killed him. He only
Even
had
most
3 left.
guards.
Deal's gonna try to like start making rather than just like he's gonna try to make moves to at least try to bring Clave some comfort. Like maybe he figured that Clave, maybe Clave isn't in a position or isn't in a mindset to really cast anything. So like maybe he would like kind of like try to like prepare like a set up a bedroll, one of his bedrolls, so they can at least have like a padded place to sit down and try to make him comfortable. His current condition.
Well, he's
Well,
trying
he's
to transform
trying to
back
go
into
into
a cloud now.
Cloud, yeah.
Oh,
Perhaps do this once we return to our physical selves. We should move.
right. Clave, your body is a work of art. Now more than ever. Be proud of it.
Fortunately,
Clave-
it's a
Clave
Picasso.
coughs and spits a bit of blood out.
So you transform back into your cloud forms. I don't know. This is just a question. I'm not putting the onus on you to remember, but do people remember where Doan Pashar was? Or
I
switch
remember
back
there
to the
being
main
a
map?
path off the river.
Vaguely, I remember. Well, are you asking us the players or like?
Yeah, I'm asking you the players.
I
So-
remember it was like to the west. It was like to the north. It was in the northern part of the country. It was like to the west.
I'll just
But
switch
we're-
you back to the. I'll switch
We're
you back to the
currently
main
pretty
map.
far north, I think, because of the city that we're in.
So back to the normal world
Yeah.
map.
Yeah.
So it was over
We need-
here.
Yeah, we need to go way over here.
Yeah, and you are
Over here.
yeah, up here. So it is even in Windwalk form, it is a couple days travel away. So it's probably 3 if you take advantage of the remaining 5-ish hours or so of Windwalk.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to skirt south directly because from where we're at. Oh wait, no, we're this.
Yeah, so there is the lava. I don't want to get rid of the lava because I could move it all to the DM layer, I guess. But so the lava's not there where you are.
Yeah. So
And the lake that was created by the massive walls of lava is not there either. So the Nahal River is visible in the far distance, as it also exists in this plane. So you're aware that you just have to follow it. You know, you don't really have like a ranger, so there might be a little bit of a difficulty in your figuring out exactly when to leave the river, as you don't necessarily know what you're looking for. But you know, it's a survival check. It's just I don't know who's good at survival.
I am.
And it's ultimately just a question of how quickly you find it, as opposed to whether you ever find it.
I have a +10 on it.
So traveling to the south, you reach the river and then begin to travel southwest along the course of the river. And the first 5 hours or so passes. The desert, at least so far as you could see, seems to be pretty featureless. You know that somewhere along this river you previously encountered some sort of city, or at least, monumental buildings of some ancient city that was transported here.
Mhm.
But you don't see that anywhere near where you are now. So it is still somewhere ahead of you. And that's where you met those like evil pixie-like creatures previously that were trying to kill you.
Yeah.
But the windwalk is about to end, so you will have to land and find a place to rest. There is foliage here. It's the foliage actually strikes you as sort of almost Feywildish. Like there is a vast desert on any side of the river, but the foliage is extremely colorful. Much of it is sort of covered in magical light. So you imagine there's some connection between this plane and the Feywild to cause that. And you encountered, dozens of evil pixies, which may explain why they were here. But there's no obvious shelter here. Unless Clave creates one or Aurelia creates her hut.
Clave is still dealing with massive amounts of pain. So I don't know that he would have concentration to use his highest level spell slot to create the shelter. I, it, I can't create our shelter this time.
Aurelia, would you?
I'm just in too much pain. I can't summon the magic and concentrate on it as needed.
Understandable. You rest.
We will take watches.
Clave's still adjusting. Like you could see, tries to get down, and then he realizes his hands don't reach that direction anymore. So he has to sort of find a different way to lower himself to the ground.
Yeah.
Essentially going down sideways.
If only there was a Rakshasa here, they could teach you.
And they only have their hands first.
Yeah, I know, but it's better than nothing.
Right. And even going down sideways, it's like you think you're gonna like reach out but it's this other arm that moves because it's all reversed.
Yeah. Very much getting used to it.
Doing somatic components could be real weird.
Well, I mean, he hasn't had to do that yet, but he's going to have to figure out how to do it without like watching his hands do the somatic components. Or like do that thing where you bring your hands like over your head.
He's doing Naruto signs behind his head.
No, but you definitely do still feel like as you attempt to do almost anything, you definitely feel the strain in your body as it hasn't figured out how to adapt to this. And your spine is incredibly sore.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a rough rest when you can't even lay down comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
So Aurelia, are you creating your tiny hut?
Yeah, I guess so. All right. I'll do I guess it's a ritual, so I can do it as a ritual, right? Yeah.
Yep. You can do it as a ritual.
Okay.
What color is your tiny hut?
Uh, it'll be well,
Whatever the color of the sand is here.
yeah. Try to have it blend in so it's not obvious.
So yeah, you could basically I allow like illusionists to get away with more, but you could basically do like one color that's a similar sort of, like I said, the foliage here is not, it's not desert where you are unless you wanted to land in the desert, I guess. I in my head assumed you landed close to the river. So in
Okay,
close to the
yeah.
river, it's pretty much sort of Feywild-esque foliage. It's a lot of colorful plants, many of them glowing, some of them moving. Further out though, you did see like desert sands, so you could land out there where it is a little more uniform. Your sight lines are probably a bit better. Although there are dunes that could block things getting somewhat close to you. It's
Yeah.
relatively flatter and there are fewer places to hide.
Yeah, that's probably a better bet. So go out where the sand is.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
have
we
it-
could still keep close to this foliage area. That way, if we
Right.
need to dip out, we can
Yeah.
go
And
into
head.
there for cover.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable.
Okay, so someone roll me a d12.
Got you. Seven. Oh,
So as you're settling down, Aurelia, you notice that laying in the sand beneath you, there's something solid and hard. It's like a metal object that is poking up. And as you sort of fish it out, it appears to be a very intricately designed humanoid hand. And it seems to go down deeper.
Okay.
It's made of metal.
Is this Daggerface's hand?
No, but it's extremely similar to Daggerface's hand.
Um, has the tiny hut been set up yet, or we haven't even got that far?
No, you've set up the tiny hut.
Okay.
You just realize that this thing is underground inside your tiny hut.
Okay. Well, I'll let everybody know about the strange hand that's in the sand. Not of man.
I mean, for that matter, Daggerface was very similar to Temple One, so it's also very similar to Temple One's hand.
Is it like is it warm or and well, it's probably pretty hot out here, so
Yeah, I mean, it is not that warm. Like it's not that warm even outside, but it's also it's basically a warforged hand. So you
okay.
don't know that it's supposed to be like maintain homeostasis at a certain temperature or not.
Okay. Zarius, could you come and look at this?
I will take a gander.
So it does appear to be a warforged hand, very similar to the warforged you run into. You notice that it is curling up very slowly now that it's been dug out. So it's not exactly like wildly flailing around, but it seems to be moving. If it's involuntary, I guess give me a medicine check to see whether or not it's voluntary or involuntary. Almost no one but you could figure that out.
Wow.
Yeah, so I forgot that it was that, even that high. You're not 100% sure. You suspect maybe it's a voluntary thing, but it's almost imperceptibly slow.
I just sort of look at
Right.
it.
It would not be that much, I'm sure, just so Aurelia is aware, it would not be that much work for you to set up a different tiny hut with this thing outside it.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah, go over there and reset up. We can examine this.
Okay, that's what I will do then.
After the dome is gone, does the thing still continue to move, or
Yes.
um
So I imagine right now it's only sort of dug out to like the beginning of the forearm, so it's not got a lot of range of motion, but
sure. So if I like go to grip it like hand in hand, does it try to grip back?
so you do reach out to grab onto it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, then it immediately grabs on.
Um
I'm getting real Baldur's Gate 3 vibes.
I mean,
Do you bite off the hand or do you pull it out?
I mean,
Yeah, I've killed Gale so many times.
Yeah.
uh oh, evil Dark Urge, like there's hardly any companions. It's real easy to kill Minthara too. I finally got her on my team.
Good.
She's crazy. She's crazy. I love her.
Right. She's the character I think is the funniest.
Oh yeah.
of all of them.
She's. You remember like Matt? Do you ever play Mass Effect?
It was a very long time ago. But yes.
There was Garrus Vicarian, the one
Mhm.
Taurian companion you can get. It's
Right.
very similar sort of humor, like just being very matter of fact, but it's fucking hilarious.
Like, I forget what she said, but like I remember when they're like when the clown is like a volunteer from the audience. Oh, it was so great to send her up.
haven't done that yet. I went the other direction. I got to go back over to the fucking carnival. I'll okay. I mean, I'll just like look over to the party, like, be ready, and I will pull.
He is sufficiently far down that what's your strength score?
It's like a 16. Yeah, 16.
Okay, give me an athletics check, but it is going to be a pretty high one to actually pull him free.
Am I still blessed? No, we're not. We were moving.
So yeah, I mean, you've definitely shaken some of the sand loose around his arm so that he has a little more room to move, but you haven't actually pulled him up an appreciable amount. Because you've got to displace like 1,000 pounds of sand to get him out of there.
Yeah. I don't have a move earth ability. I don't think.
And I mean, it would take just some simple digging to dig him
Yeah.
out. It's just trying to yank him out all at once. That's the hard part.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know how far down he was. I just sort of like pulled he would eventually sort of break through the sand or not, but yeah.
He doesn't appear to be, so you would gather that if he's not like actually standing upright, he's pretty close to it.
Okay. Interesting.
And And it seems as if, since only his one arm is up there, that he was probably reaching up to try to get out of whatever this situation is. So he is, probably his feet at least are probably more than like 6 feet below the sand.
Got it. I don't know why. I'm just like imagining it's like C3PO, like got trapped or something. I'll sort of try and see if I can push some of the shit away.
Yeah, you can start to dig him out. It'll take you about an hour to dig him out.
I mean, at least to his head. See if he has anything to say.
Yeah, so it takes you about half an hour. You see a Warforged head that you notice is a lot more similar to Temple One's. It's clearly not Temple One, but it's a lot more similar to that head type. In fact, it may be that there's a sort of template and it's just somewhat stylized differently.
Mhm.
So it is Temple One was actually pretty thin, pretty frail looking if he wasn't in his exoskeleton style armor. So this one also is pretty spindly character, but you managed to dig his head out, and you hear, "Thank you. Can you please help dig the rest of me out?"
Is he speaking in common?
Yes.
What got you here?
Sandstorm. I was walking through the desert and saw that there was a river ahead, and I was hoping to find some form of civilization in whatever this waste is. But the sandstorm came, and I was unable to avoid it. And unfortunately, the area I was in was completely buried.
How long have you been here?
That is very difficult to say, as I have not been able to see the sun. But it has certainly been many years.
What was the last thing you remember about current world events?
It's like, yes, so this wasn't a recent thing. Got it. Yeah. What was the last major event besides the storm, I guess?
Well, the last major event was probably the death of Queen Sharia of Dharmashah. Although there were rumors that the Empire might leave this region.
Do we
History or
know?
something?
Do we know? Yeah, do we know like
What she's
Oh,
talking about?
yeah, do
Or
you know
it?
who Queen
I don't know.
Sharia is and like how
You could make a history check.
I'm gonna try. Maybe I have something.
it would make sense that Zarius would be more familiar.
Roughly in our area, yeah.
Right. Queen Sharia was a human queen of Dharmashah who sort of famously lived to about 121 years, which is very old for a human.
Indeed.
But she passed away probably several centuries ago. You don't know the exact year.
Right.
Before she was around right at around the time the empire began to fall apart and abandon the desert of the south. So she was probably she may have been one of the first queens after the empire fell, or one of the last ones before it fell.
An old relative of yours. Likely still kicking.
Was Queen Sharia?
Yes.
Hmm.
It is
I
an
don't-
assumption based on knowledge we have received from some of your relatives, your offspring.
So this Warforged begins to sort of, with his one free hand, start scooping sand away.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. What were you doing traveling this desert?
I was gathering information to take back to one of the Garns.
Well, I believe you are relieved of your duty.
I'm sure the information I have now is probably wildly out of date, but I could always go back to the Garns and get new missions.
The Empire does not rule here.
Well, the Empire did rule. Like I said, there was a rumor that the Empire perhaps would be withdrawing. That's interesting. I assume the Garns have learned about that by now, but I'll be able to take that back to them.
It has been a number of hundreds of years.
That is a little distressing.
As I said, I believe you are relieved of duty.
Well, but I'm sure the Garns are still in full operation.
I do not believe so.
Does Teal recognize who the Garns are?
No, but thinking back, some of you may remember that the place where you met Temple One, he referred to as Duagarn.
Right.
Ah,
And there was, when you were reading through the library material there were references to other Garns, Unagarn, Pentagarn, Terragarn.
yes, the Garns are long gone, unfortunately.
That seems unlikely. They've been around for millennia. Why would they suddenly be gone? I mean, all the humans died, of course.
Well,
I mean, I'm
either that or
obviously,
they're
obviously, I
hiding.
am not, would not be upset with you if what you say is true, then it's true. It will be interesting to investigate, I suppose. I like to think that some of my kind would have at least survived. Can you help dig me out?
Oh yes, yes. And he'll help dig and then get annoyed with it and then like summon his astral arms so that they could maybe move dirt faster.
See, I picture T-Hole just kind of lightly kicking sand around. Maybe even kicking it back where this guy is like trying to dig himself out.
Yeah.
But absent-mindedly, though, like he's not realizing what he's doing. Looking off into the middle distance.
So with your astral arms, you're able to dig him out much more quickly. And he's out in about half an hour. So what brings you folks into the desert?
Hey,
Ah, what happened to him? I know that's right. You're in Axios form, so I wouldn't notice. Is your friend okay? He appears, obviously he's in some sort of great pain, but I don't see any obvious injuries.
They're all internal. How far away is your location? This Garn?
Depends on which garden I return to. I suppose I'll go to the nearest one, which is Pentagarn. Probably about 400 miles away.
In
You
which
see,
direction?
he's sort of looking up. It's to the south. It's in that land that's been invaded by those snake people. Why is the sky this color?
Oh, you are this isn't the this is
Material plane.
this isn't an alternate plane.
I don't know how I got to an alternate plane.
Well,
Well, that's going to make things harder.
can assure you your guess is as good as ours.
Do you are you familiar with? Like he probably wouldn't be. Well, he might be. Are you familiar with the location of Dawat Pajar?
No. Is that a city?
Yes, it's to the west.
It's possible there are records in one of the gardens, even if the gardens are otherwise abandoned now. The libraries are quite extensive. We could go there and find information about the city. I suppose, I'm assuming that it was recorded there before the garden was destroyed. But the guards do, if they do anything, they collect information.
Well, we have a pretty good idea as to where it is at. But if there's a easy way of getting more precise location,
I'm afraid I don't have any immediate way to do that. Do you know how to get back to the regular world?
no.
Well, I suppose I will have to wander this plane until I figure that out.
Okay,
Luckily, we
we do.
are long lived. Oh, you do know a way.
Well,
I was testing.
Clave will stand up and walk over and say, What is your mission?
I'm
Having
scout.
not heard any of the other things that were said before.
Since the Atarans all died off, we periodically send out scout units like me to figure out what's going on in the rest of the world and bring information back so that we have a general knowledge base of what the flesh bags are up to. No offense.
I'm telepathically gonna communicate with uh Zarius, T-Hole, and Aurelia. If he's anything like Temple 1, he needs to go. As in be destroyed.
What it seems like this one's objective is primarily scout.
So,
The other one was an overseer.
didn't you say that you ran into another one of these before and it tried to kill you?
It was sentient, and
What difference does sentience
it had a different mission. It was literally only sent to kill us from someone else. I forget. It was like from the Tower of Seven or some shit. Was that related to them?
It was right. So the Ordo Arcanorum hired him to come attack you because they thought you had the Wand of Eternity's doorstep. And they wanted
Right.
him to recover that and return it to him. But you gave him something else instead so that he would just go away.
Right.
Mordenkainen spellbook.
Right.
And he was, once he had an alternative to just defying them outright, he went away. But yes, he was technically sent to kill you. And, got reasonably close with his little team.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll just like convey. That was
Meanwhile,
a-
like all this time has passed and he's like, you guys okay? You're just like staring.
It's been a long day.
Most of it spent as clouds.
He furrows his brow at that, not comprehending.
It's like a mechanical brow. Does it just like rotate in place or?
Johnny 5?
Yes. I like that for a second, the autofill just decided to fill in your tissue as all brown. So it looked like you had a giant dookie hanging from your nose. So anyway, I can see you guys are getting ready to rest for the evening. To be honest, I don't really need to do that myself. I feel like I've been resting for hundreds of years.
Well, good luck to you.
And to you in finding Doat Pudger.
Telepathically, Clave goes, seriously, we're just letting him go. Temple 1 was trying to destroy us and activate those teleportation circles, which would have let this plague spread.
Again, he was the overseer of that location. That was his whole goal, was to get it operational again. This one's goal is to scout.
Yes, maybe he's scouting for Temple 1.
Temple 1 was at Duagarn. He is not mentioned going to Duagarn.
No, but it doesn't matter.
I'll just turn to the thing. Do you?
He's
what?
whistling a happy tune as he's walking away.
I have another question for you, if you do not mind.
He stops and turns. Sure. What do you need to know?
What specifically were you scouting?
As I said, after all the Atarans died off, the organic Atarans died off, we, their descendants, needed to keep abreast of what was going on in the world. It's hard to do just from our individual guards. So periodically we send out scouts like me. We scout around the world, learning what we can, and then we bring the information back. I mean, I know my information is all dated now, but it is entirely possible, if no other scout went the direction I did, that it could actually still update at least some of the information we have on file. I look forward to finding out more about the Empire's retreat from the area and what the current political situation is. Hey, in fact, if you guys don't mind, can you catch me up on what's been going on? And he starts walking back. You see, in fact, his whole torso rotates 180 degrees and he just keeps walking. So it's very reminiscent.
IG-11, IG-88. I had a question for him, but he kept talking. Yeah. So, do you know how? Are you familiar with how the Atarans all died?
They know. A vast plague is my understanding. I came online right before they all disappeared, kind of in the last probably half year or so. They were all pretty sick, is what I remember of them.
Is this all you know of what happened to them?
I'm not necessarily built for the sort of deeper medical mysteries of it all. I mean, I know many of them died horribly and in pain. Some of them, dissolving away into just bags of water and bone.
Yeah, we're familiar with the outcome. Are you familiar with how it was spread?
Not entirely. It had something to do with their magic.
Very specifically, their teleportation. This is what we learned at another one of your locations to the north. But the one in charge of that location was attempting to reignite some of the networks.
Well, that makes sense.
However,
I know that Pentagard was hoping that somebody would be able to reestablish a direct teleportation link with one of the other major teleportation hubs.
The downside of
Pentagon-
this,
Pentagard is
is-
not a teleportation hub itself, though. It does have a couple of teleportation circles, but not nearly as many as places like Unagarn would.
if we convey this information to you, I hope that it is uploaded with priority, if you will. Those
Wha-
teleportation circles.
telepathically, Clave is gonna be like, why are you just trusting him to take this information and care about what happens? Why would he care about anything that happens to, in his words, flesh bags? No offense.
That is what we are.
You're basically giving him knowledge of a weapon to destroy things that are not of his kind. Which would be all things except these creatures of metal.
You're doing that staring thing again? Can you like what's been going on historically in this region? Well, not this region, hopefully, but in the real world in the southern desert. Like, why did the Empire pull out? When did it pull out?
A long time
Ah,
ago.
I don't it's sometime after before you and after you and before us. But they came back.
Oh, they came back after pulling out. Are they in charge again? How would you describe the political structures in place there now?
In conflict.
Yes, the world is at war.
Mm.
Mm,
Not with itself necessarily. It
yes,
is extraplanar forces at work.
Really?
We are-
What do you know about those?
Plans are in action. That is all that you need to know for now.
I don't mean to pry. If you don't want to tell me, that's fine. I am only here to get what information I can. But so I am looking more for sort of general historical knowledge or knowledge of politics or sociology or the general anthropology of the created races or Dragonborn.
The Dragonborn have ruled for a long time. Currently, it is in flux.
Where did the Dragonborn rule? There were colonies of Dragonborn that the Copper Dragon brought in.
The Dragonborn controlled a section.
So they eventually established their own monarchy.
of sorts. Yes,
And have they taken over Dharma Shah, or is it a different region than Dharma Shah? Because Dharma Shah was run by the Created when I was around as a vassal state to the Empire. Or
They
at
have,
least that's what was explained to me.
they have taken over Dharma Shah. They have, the Dragonborn have ruled Dharma Shah for, gosh, I don't know how long, Zarius, a long time.
And the Il-Shabazz family, are they still in existence or were they displaced when the Dragonborn took over Dharma Shah?
I don't know that one.
Il-Shabazz is a familiar name.
Yeah, you were in a city. The Il-Shabazz family runs everything from Il-Shabazz to Dharma Shah. So
Right,
you were in the capital city is Il-Shabazz. You were there previously. That's where you were at the embassy.
They persist.
Meanwhile, Clave is gonna once more telepathically say, why are you helping him? Why are you giving him information?
What
And
harm is this?
he is
Or
happily
it's,
chirping.
he would say it's.
He's
Clave-
happily chirping away with more questions on just sort of general social studies issues of, of what's going on. And he's happy to sort of, he's confused by some of your answers here and there, but he's happy to sort of take in whatever it is you feel like telling him.
This is meaningless information to him.
You don't know how it's going to use it.
He already knows there are people where there are people.
I seriously don't understand. After what the last one attempted to do, which would have brought about the end of civilization had it succeeded. And now you're just buddying up to this thing as if it's just some other weary traveler that we've encountered.
What is your stance on? What is your stance on reestablishing the teleportation network?
I mean, it sounds like it would be really helpful to reestablishing contact between the Garns, which would help us create a more complete network of information about the world. So I'm just a scout. I don't make decisions like that, but I gather it would be a good thing.
What if disease could spread through that and potentially wipe out the rest, wipe out the world, or wipe out the many folks
Huh.
living on the world?
Well, to be honest, I've never thought about that, but I guess you're saying that it was teleportation magic that caused the plague. And so if we start the teleportation circles up, there might be a risk of our spreading the plague through the teleportation circles.
Telepathically, Clave is going to say, you guys are giving him the weapon. Giving it the weapon. You're giving it the weapon. What?
Teal like just holds up his finger.
If it's, yeah, I mean, we can always kill it. We can kill it if it does in fact seem to be not a good thing.
So you literally see the wheel spinning as he's putting all of these bits of information you've given him together. And then he says, that would be my decision to make one way or another. But yeah, I could see that would really be horrible. And you all realize that he's not sure it would be horrible. Not at the same level you guys think it would be horrible.
Yeah, he like it is a factual, like it's like a statistic in a book horrible.
Right.
Not like a empathy. Horrible.
Like, oh wow, that's the last footage of the Tasmanian tiger. Man, that sucks.
Right.
I'm gonna watch it over and over again.
And then he just outright adds, I mean, I don't think the plague affects my kind, but I can see it'd be a real bummer for you.
It's like, yeah, it would be. Teal's just, I think he's at this point, he's just gonna attack him.
I mean, I was just gonna, my medicine book, we don't necessarily know what oxygen is, but we might be developing germ theory, right? We can tell this guy that the plague is likely to just evolve.
I mean, if anybody's going to be creationists, it's going to be the robot.
Right, because they were in fact created. Yeah.
Right. And they vaguely heard that you were all created by your gods. They don't know the details, but they assume it was all a similar process. So we can end it there. We'll pick it up with the attack on Scout 59, although not that anyone bothered to ask if he has a name.
Because we didn't think he would have a name. And he
Yeah,
in fact does not have a name.
yeah, he has a number.
He has a designation.
Well, I mean, that Temple One's name was just named that because he was the first person in charge of the temple. So
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
a very imaginative name. Daggerface's name, not very imaginative. This is not how robots name themselves.
And Daggerface is way more imaginative than Scout 59.
Right,
That
but he
guy-
was named
that
because
guy's
he
a-
literally shoots daggers from his face.
That
So-
guy is a bard amongst their kind, okay? My name is Daggerface, and they'd be like, "Whoa, what? How'd you come up
They'd probably be more like, man, your creators must have hated you to give you such a weird name.
with that?" Yeah.
So thanks for playing. I'm glad to get back into it because it's been a shitty couple of weeks. And I
Yeah.
didn't get to ask Mike, how are things going with you?
Better. We're so Maddox